Formula One has exploded once again after the Brazilian Grand Prix, because what looked like a routine racing clash has turned into one of the most controversial penalties of the 2025 season. Oscar Piastri didn't just lose a podium. He was nearly pushed to the brink of a race ban, all because of a decision that many believe never should have happened. The Australian driver was hit with a brutal 10-second penalty and 2 licence points, a punishment so severe that it placed him dangerously close to a mandatory race ban. Whispers immediately spread through the paddock. Was this the moment that crippled Piastri's championship hopes, or worse, was the FIA using him as an example? But what followed was even more shocking. Not only did Mclaren erupt internally, but the FIA later admitted there had been a mistake in calculating Piastri's penalty points, meaning he was actually safer from a ban than initially reported. Still, the damage was done. Fans raged online, analysts questioned the precedent, and insiders claimed key footage not broadcast on the world feed changed everything. This video dives deep into the incident, the regulatory loopholes, the political undertones, and what really unfolded behind McLaren's closed doors. Before we continue, make sure you subscribe, because this kind of breakdown is crucial to understanding what just shook the 2025 season. The true chaos of the Brazilian Grand Prix began not with a crash, but with the restart, a moment that transformed Oscar Piastri's race, McLaren's internal harmony, and even the FIA's reputation. As the safety car peeled into the pit lane and the grid braced for turn 1, Piastri found himself in a high-pressure sandwich. Antonelli ahead, Leclerc sweeping around the outside, and Norris disappearing into the distance. Piastri knew this corner was one of the few chances to take control of the race. So, as any racer would in championship mode, he went for the gap on the inside. The move itself wasn't reckless. It was instinctive. Piastri braked late, committed hard, and tried to position his McLaren alongside Antonelli. But here is where the controversy takes shape. The onboard shows a slight lock-up, but enough to raise eyebrows. Antonelli, aware of Piastri's dive, still turned in aggressively. Leclerc, giving both of them more space than expected, attempted to avoid the chaos by running a wider line, but Piastri's locked front tyre couldn't scrub enough speed. Antonelli cut down more than anticipated, and the contact became inevitable. Antonelli was flicked sideways, Leclerc was sent spinning into terminal damage, and Piastri, he continued, but his race was already doomed. Within minutes, the stewards delivered their verdict. Piastri wholly responsible, 10-second penalty plus 2 penalty points. The phrasing was harsh, the ruling was harsher, and the fallout was immediate. Social media erupted. Ex-drivers said it was overly severe. Analysts called it inconsistent with modern racing. Fans claimed the FIA was destroying the season. Even neutral commentators admitted the sanction felt excessive for a first-lap-style restart skirmish. Then came the bombshell. The FIA's post-race documentation, widely shared online, suggested Piastri had accumulated 8 penalty points, meaning he was dangerously close to the 12-point threshold that triggers an automatic race ban. This sparked an explosion of speculation. Would Piastri miss Las Vegas? Was this the moment the championship was ripped away? Had the FIA over-policed a racing accident? But hours later, the FIA admitted a mistake. Piastri actually had 6, not 8, a clerical error at the elite level of motorsport. The kind of error that should not be possible when the stakes involve race bans, championships, and millions of dollars of pressure. Though the number was corrected, the damage, emotionally and politically, remained. Because once a narrative of FIA inconsistency forms, it's almost impossible to erase. Many insisted the penalty didn't fit the crime. Some pointed out that Piastri had overlap earlier in the braking zone. Others argued Antonelli failed to leave room, despite being aware of Piastri's nose. Leclerc's decision to stay wide, they noted, further proves this was a shared mistake. The question became, how did Piastri end up being wholly responsible? Inside McLaren, tension bubbled. Piastri had come into Brazil feeling strong, confident he could challenge Norris, who was on fire all weekend. But Piastri's first stint suffered from poor balance, tyre temperature issues, and unpredictable rear stability. Combine that with the penalty, and the atmosphere shifted dramatically. Engineers were frustrated. Piastri was frustrated. The garage energy dipped. It didn't explode, but it simmered. Dangerous in a team already fighting a complex internal dynamic between two ambitious drivers. Andrea Stella, McLaren's team principal, spoke carefully but clearly. He called the penalty on the harsh side, emphasising that Antonelli had responsibility too. Stella suggested Piastri maintain trajectory and only locked up because Antonelli squeezed harder than expected. Yet, despite publicly disagreeing with the ruling, McLaren chose not to request a right to review. Why? Several theories swirled through the paddock. One theory, McLaren feared the appeal would fail and draw unwanted attention to internal tension. Another, they didn't want to look like a team incapable of accepting decisions, especially during an ultra-political championship phase. And a third, more strategic theory, the team didn't want to reinforce the narrative that Piastri had become unstable under pressure. From the FIA's viewpoint, the ruling was straightforward. Their driving standards guidelines are clear on overtakes. The car attacking on the inside must have its front axle at least alongside the outside car's mirror at the apex and must not dive in without full control. According to their interpretation, Piastri met neither requirement. The lock-up, they argued, demonstrated the move wasn't fully under control, and so, in their logic, the penalty was consistent with precedent. Yet this raises a deeper question. If modern Formula One continues to enforce overtaking guidelines, are we unintentionally removing the essence of racing? Drivers are being punished for taking calculated risks, even in moments where marginal calls define races. As the final races approach, Piastri faces a psychological challenge. His confidence must recover. His relationship with the FIA will be under the spotlight. His dynamic with Norris may shift once again. And his own words after the race, measured, calm, but tinged with frustration, suggest he knows Brazil could become the turning point that shapes his season. So, after re-watching the Oscar Piastri versus Kimi Antonelli versus Charles Leclerc incident, who do you think is really to blame? Was the FIA fair, or should the penalty be overturned based on the full context of the move? Tell me in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe so you never miss the latest dramatic twists in the 2025 Formula One season.